Our family lives in Woodbury, Minnesota, a peaceful, upscale residential area about a 30 minutes drive from Minneapolis. Now that October has arrived, the maple and oak trees are starting to change colors. While it's getting chilly in the mornings and evenings, we're still enjoying pleasant autumn weather during the day. Well-maintained lawns line the streets, and on weekends, you can see residents tending to their gardens. We moved here 5 years ago when my husband Tom was promoted to project manager at his technology company. I work as a real estate agent, and since I started handling properties in this area, I've come to truly appreciate the value of our own home. Our white 2-story house features an open-concept living and dining area, a modern kitchen, and a spacious yard that our daughter Zoe absolutely adores. My annual income of $60,000 helps with the mortgage payments. Lately, many of my mom friends have been coming to me for advice, knowing I'm familiar with the local real estate market. This morning, as usual, I set my alarm for 5:30. While preparing breakfast at the kitchen island, I gaze at the morning sun streaming through the large windows. The orange light warmly illuminates the family photos on the wall. My favorite is from last Christmas, Tom with Zoe laughing on his knee, and me beside them with a happy expression. Next to it hangs a photo from Zoe's kindergarten graduation. Every time I see her in that white dress holding bouquets in both hands, I'm reminded of how moving that day was. As I cook the pancake batter, I mentally organize today's schedule. Morning appointments include 2 new property assessments, followed by an open house in the afternoon. In between, I need to handle Zoe's after-school activities. My mom friends often say, "You're doing so well juggling everything," and I take secret pride in balancing work and family. I'm especially pleased that clients trust me more now, and I'm getting more referrals. "Good morning, Mama." I turn around at Zoe's voice coming down the stairs to find her in her uniform, still looking a bit sleepy. Her navy jumper dress from St. Mary's private school is, as always, perfectly pressed. The school crest on her chest gleams in the morning sun. I'm glad I took extra care ironing it last night. "Good morning, young lady. Let me braid your hair before the pancakes are ready." As I quickly braid Zoe's brown hair, Tom comes downstairs with the newspaper. My husband, now 40, has recently started showing a few gray hairs. He's mild-mannered and especially gentle with our only daughter, Zoe. Though his job involves frequent business trips, he always makes sure to have breakfast with the family when he's home. Even after working late last night, he makes time to be with us in the morning. I love this family-oriented side of Tom. "Good morning, Princess," Tom gently pats Zoe's head. "Looks like it's going to be another wonderful day." "Daddy, are you going away this weekend too?" Zoe shows a worried expression. "No, I'll be home this weekend." "Is there somewhere you'd like to go?" Family breakfast time around the kitchen island. On the table are pancakes drowned in maple syrup, fresh blueberries, and Tom's favorite freshly ground coffee. Through the window, we can see neighborhood children starting their walk to school. Tom reads the newspaper while sipping his coffee, and Zoe carefully cuts her pancakes into small pieces. I watch over them both while preparing tomorrow's lunchbox. Since starting 2nd grade, Zoe has become even more passionate about drawing. During the recent parent-teacher conference, her autumn landscape was displayed in the classroom. I'll never forget how proud she looked when she told me that Ms. Brown, her teacher, had praised her use of colors. While she has a bright and honest personality, she occasionally shows a cautious side that clearly takes after Tom. When I ask about school, She says she always spends recess drawing with her friends. Zoe, Tom suddenly looked up from his newspaper and turned to our daughter. Do you remember what to do when getting off the bus? Yes. Zoe answered immediately. Count to 3 before starting to walk. That's right. It's an important rule Grandpa taught us, Tom continued with a gentle but serious expression. Always count to 3 after getting off the bus. Promise? I understand, Daddy. Zoe nodded solemnly. Tom's father had worked as a school bus driver for over 30 years. Tom continues to pass on the safety wisdom gained from that experience to his daughter. I've also heard about the importance of this rule many times from my father-in-law. As I listened to Tom's daily ritual of confirming this with Zoe, I remember my late father-in-law's warm smile. After breakfast, while Zoe went upstairs to brush her teeth, Tom came to my side and put his arm around my shoulders. How about going to see a movie as a family this weekend? It's been a while. That would be lovely. Zoe will be thrilled. She's been looking forward to that new animated film. Outside, it was gradually getting brighter, and we could see neighborhood children starting to walk down the street. It's almost time for the school bus. I quickly packed Zoe's lunch box with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, an apple, and sneaked in one of my homemade cookies as a special treat. Life is busy, but these ordinary morning moments shape our family's happiness. The coffee aroma wafting through the kitchen, the warmth of the morning sun through the windows, and the gentle conversations between Zoe and Tom. Another new day was about to begin. At 3 p.m., warm autumn sunlight streamed through the glass windows of the modern office. I was concentrating on final checks of new property contracts at my desk on the 35th floor. The view of downtown Minneapolis from the high-rise windows is usually pleasant, but today I felt somehow unsettled. After seeing Zoe off this morning, I had handled 3 property assessments back-to-back. I hastily ate a sandwich in my car for lunch, and now I was reviewing these contracts. Piles of documents still waiting to be checked covered my desk. With the settlement deadline next week, overtime seems unavoidable. Ashley, about the Smith family contract. My colleague Jennifer started to speak, but was interrupted by my ringing phone. Looking at the screen, I saw an unfamiliar number. Normally I'd assume it was a client, but for some reason, I felt an inexplicable sense of dread. Sorry, I need to take this call. My hand trembled slightly as I picked up the receiver. Hello? Mama. The voice on the other end was unmistakably Zoe's. But not her usual cheerful voice. It was shaking, as if she might cry. Zoe? What's wrong? The office air conditioning suddenly seemed too loud. The falling leaves outside the window appeared to move in slow motion. Mama, this bus. I'm scared. What? What do you mean? What happened? An icy fear ran down my spine. Zoe had boarded the yellow school bus this morning as usual. School lets out at 3:15 p.m. Why was my daughter scared? The driver. Suddenly, the call cut off. Zoe? Zoe. I desperately called her name, but only heard the mechanical beeping sound. I immediately tried calling back, but got the customer's mobile phone is turned off. Announcement. Ashley, are you all right? Jennifer asked worriedly. She's a mother too. She must have sensed from my expression that something serious had happened. Got a call from my daughter. I need to check with the school. With trembling fingers, I dialed St. Mary's Elementary. My heart raced with each ring. But no one answered. It was after school hours, the office staff had probably already left. Thank you for calling St. Mary's Elementary School. At this time, it was the answering machine. I hurriedly sent Tom an email. Just got a scary call from Zoe. She said something about being scared on the bus. The call cut off. Can't reach the school. After hitting send, I reached for the coffee cup on my desk. The cold coffee seemed to reflect my anxious state. A few minutes later, Tom replied. Zoe's been acting strange lately. Yesterday too, when she got off the bus, she seemed worried about something. I'm heading to the school now. Can you leave work early? She's been acting strange lately. I tried desperately to think back. Come to think of it, these past few days, Zoe's expression did seem clouded. But I'd been too busy to probe deeper. Regret washed over me. Jennifer, I'm sorry. I'll check the remaining documents first thing tomorrow morning. Of course, go ahead. You must be worried about your daughter. I quickly shut down my computer and stuffed the documents into my bag. Outside, the sky was beginning to turn orange, giving me an ominous feeling. While waiting for the elevator, I checked my phone repeatedly. No calls from Zoe. No contact from the school. Where was the bus now? Was Zoe safe? From inside the elevator, I sent another email to Tom. I'm heading there now. I keep trying Zoe's phone but... The moment I hit send, the elevator began its descent from the 35th floor. The usual descent speed now felt unbearably slow. I tapped my foot rapidly while staring at the clock. 3:45 p.m. Normally, Zoe would already be at the bus stop near our house by now. This morning, she had boarded the bus with a smile and a wave, saying, "See you later," as usual. Why had that bus suddenly become scary? Just before the elevator reached the first floor, a new message arrived from Tom. At the school. Got in touch with the vice principal. They're checking the bus status. As I was about to reply, my phone rang again. Another unknown number. My hands were shaking. I was terrified to answer, not knowing who it might be. But it could be Zoe. Taking a deep breath, I held the phone to my ear. Hello, Ashley Parker speaking. Mrs. Parker, this is Officer Murphy from the Woodbury Police Department. Your daughter Zoe has been in an accident. For a moment, I felt my heart stop. I instinctively reached for the cold metal elevator wall for support. Zoe, where? At the Maple Street bus stop. We've called an ambulance, but we need one of the parents to accompany her. I'll be right there. I ran from the lobby to the parking lot. The usually 3-minute journey felt like an eternity. Then an email came from Tom. Heading to the hospital. Zoe was in an accident but she's conscious. Drive carefully. Maple Street bus stop. Where I see Zoe off every morning. When the yellow school bus stops, she always turns back to wave. A peaceful corner of our residential area, surrounded by maple trees in their fall colors. When I arrived at the scene, an ambulance and police cars were already there. The yellow school bus was pulled over to the side of the road, and driver Mr. Johnson was explaining the situation to a police officer. Several parents had gathered with worried expressions. Under the autumn-colored trees, someone could be heard crying softly. According to witnesses, this is what happened. At 3:45 p.m., the school bus arrived at its usual time. As Zoe waited for her turn to get off, someone heard her counting quietly, 3, 2, 1. The safety check habit her father had taught her. The moment she got off the bus, a black SUV approached at high speed. If she hadn't finished counting those 3 seconds, she might have walked right into its path. While a major collision was narrowly avoided, she fell trying to dodge it, hitting her right arm hard. The SUV didn't stop, continuing on its way. The police were recording the partial license plate number and description that witnesses remembered. "Ma'am." A paramedic led me to the ambulance. Inside, Zoe lay with a temporary splint. Her uniform was dirty, and her face was pale, but she was fully conscious. "Mama." As she called out in a hoarse voice, tears welled up in my eyes. "It's okay, Mama's here." When we arrived at the hospital, Tom was waiting at the emergency entrance. My usually calm husband's face was ashen. "Zoe, Daddy's here." Tom stroked our daughter's cheek with trembling hands. X-rays and detailed examinations began immediately. The diagnosis was a broken right arm and general contusions. Fortunately, there was no damage to internal organs. While waiting in the waiting room for results, Tom was explaining the situation in detail to the police. The vehicle's movements were captured on security cameras, the officer informed us. "It appears to be intentional driving." At those words, Tom's expression changed completely. "This wasn't an accident." My husband whispered in a trembling voice, gripping my hand tightly. Tears welled up in his eyes. "This absolutely wasn't an accident." When we were shown to the white hospital room, Zoe lay in a small bed, cradling her right arm in its cast. Antiseptic had been applied to the scrapes on her face, and a bandage covered her forehead. Yet strangely, her expression was peaceful. "Mama, Papa," Zoe smiled. I followed the rule properly. At those words, Tom and I exchanged glances. Indeed, without that 3-second rule, the situation could have been much more serious. This small habit, passed down from Tom's father, had saved our daughter's life today. Outside the window, the evening sky had turned blood red. That redness seemed to symbolize our current anxiety and fear. After Zoe had fallen asleep, an officer shared new information in the hallway. The reason for Zoe's anxiety on the bus just before the accident was gradually becoming clear. The black SUV had apparently been following the school bus for several days during dismissal time. Driver Mr. Johnson had also noticed something suspicious and was about to report it to the school. Today, Zoe had noticed the car's presence and called me. "This wasn't professional driving," the officer continued quietly. "It was clearly a crime of personal vendetta." Tom held my shoulder while staring at the hospital room door. Inside, our daughter was sleeping peacefully. But this peace might not last long. Someone had targeted our child with clear intent. Why had this happened? Who would target our child, and why? These unanswerable questions weighed heavily on our hearts. That night, as I dozed on the hospital room's sofa, Tom quietly opened the door and came in. He seemed to have just finished a long discussion with the police. "Ashley, are you awake?" Tom's voice, though tired, carried a sense of urgency. I nodded silently. In the bed, Zoe showed a peaceful sleeping face. The painkillers seem to be helping considerably with her pain. They've identified the perpetrator, Tom began quietly, standing by the window and staring at the night view. They identified the vehicle from security camera footage. And the driver was Mark Winters, Helen's brother-in-law. Helen. That name froze something inside me. She was, if I remembered correctly, the mother of Zoe's classmate, Lily. I thought she was just an ordinary stay-at-home mom I'd see at PTA activities. But why? Her real name was Carol Martin. Tom's voice shook. She was my ex-girlfriend from college, 15 years ago. I was speechless at this revelation. Tom continued. Police investigation revealed she'd been living under an alias for the past 5 years. Her psychiatric records showed a history of severe delusional disorder. She had discontinued treatment. Outside, the lights of night patrol police vehicles quietly glowed. Due to the severity of the incident, the hospital had implemented special security measures. On social media, she'd been obsessively collecting photos of our family. Especially pictures of Zoe. The next morning, Detective Murphy visited the hospital room. His expression was even more serious than the night before. Mark Winters has confessed, and we now see the full picture, the detective began quietly. He was in debt and had been promised $20,000 by his sister-in-law Helen, or rather, Carol. The accident plan was surprisingly meticulous. They had investigated everything, the school bus schedule, Zoe's route home, even the locations of security cameras. It was a planned crime disguised as an accident. But there was an unexpected element. Your daughter counting to 3, this prevented a serious accident. At the detective's words, I found myself pressing my fingers to my eyes. That small habit inherited from Tom's father. Who could have imagined it would save our daughter's life? Subsequent investigation revealed the depth of Carol's abnormal obsession. Her 1-year relationship with Tom during college was, for her, the most brilliant period of her life. However, when Tom suddenly ended things citing work priorities, and soon after began dating me, she harbored a deep resentment while starting her life as a teacher. After leaving teaching due to mental health issues, she entered an arranged marriage with her current husband. Though they had Lily after fertility treatments, seeing our family's happy moments on social media further twisted her mind. Particularly, her daughter Lily's existence accelerated her distorted obsession. Lily's grades being lower than Zoe's, repeated defeats at school events, troubles with friendships, everything grew into an enormous grudge within her. A month later, the preliminary hearing was held. When I first faced Carol in court, I was shocked. All traces of the once energetic mom friend had vanished, replaced by an exhausted figure in the defendant's seat. Defendant Carol Martin, how do you plead to the charges? Guilty. Her voice trembled slightly. However, her subsequent testimony chilled us. While playing the role of perfect housewife, she had been planning revenge for over 5 years. She used her daughter Lily to get close to our family, gathered information, and chose the most cruel method. She used her own child as a tool to harm another child. Her twisted psychology froze the gallery. Every time I saw Ashley, I felt sick, she spoke with vacant eyes. The woman who stole my life. The woman who destroyed my happiness with Tom. And her daughter, too perfect. Everything going better than my daughter's. I couldn't stand it. In court, I found myself gripping Tom's hand tightly for the first time. This woman's madness wasn't just a product of chance. social distortions, the fragility of human relationships, and the importance of mental health care, all these factors had created this tragedy. The verdict sentenced Carol to 7 years in prison and Mark to 3 years. However, the judge's words struck at the essence of this case. The defendant's actions go beyond personal grudge, reflecting a deep darkness in modern society. As we left the courthouse, Stephen, Lily's father, bowed deeply to us. He too was a victim of this incident. 5 years spent unknowing of his wife's double life and past, the emptiness must have been beyond imagination. Back in the hospital room, Zoe happily looked at her classmates' signatures on her right arm cast. Lily's signature was there too. The innocent hearts of children remain untouched by their parents' madness. Papa, Zoe suddenly looked up at Tom. I want to tell Grandpa thank you. At these words, we exchanged glances. This small life was protected by wisdom passed down from the previous generation. And we too must pass this learning on to the next generation. Outside, under new security measures, we could hear school buses carefully departing for afternoon dismissal. While the incident was over, this experience left an indelible lesson for our family and the entire community. I stood by the window, looking up at the evening sky. Unexpected dangers will surely come again. But I believe that family bonds and wisdom passed down through generations will protect us.